Welcome back. It's Mr. Hyde. I thought what I would do here in this video is talk a little bit about the system of gradelessness that I'm using this year. I got permission from my house principal to do this as my student learning objective, and that's how we get assessed in the state of Pennsylvania. So I've put together this sort of action research project, and I can't thank enough Twitter, Facebook, the internet in general, for putting me in touch and giving me the opportunity to meet people around the country who are piloting their own versions of going gradeless. And so people like Teachers Going Gradeless, there's a link down below to their website, and also number of people from Modern Learners, they're down below as well. And just in general, certain books and certain other teachers who have called into question the effectiveness of grading, especially in the humanities. I've been teaching for 24 years, and it was pretty early in my career when I realized that, grades were sort of like the way that Drew Carey handed out points on Whose Line Is It Anyway? The actors would improv a scene, and he'd say who won and offer them 1,000 points because the points really didn't matter. It was the process that was most important. And I think that's really when it comes to humanities classes like English, like the humanities class I used to teach at the middle school. What is most important is the process and what we learn by going through that process. So discovering Dylan Williams, link down below, and a number of other people and their insights into grades and how grades demotivate people really called to mind my reading of Dan Pink, his book Drive, and the surprising truth about what really motivates us. And it sort of tied it all together, and I said, if I'm going to really consider myself a teacher who is interested in student growth, then I have to do something about grading. So every year I try and do something different, something new, something that helps me grow as a learner in the classroom. And this year for me, it's trying to come up with a system of grading less or gradelessness. I still have to give grades. It's part of what we do here in my high school, at least. There are schools around the country that have gone to gradeless, more narrative, more feedback-intensive methods. But within my classroom, my 9th and 10th grade classes I'm really pushing feedback, and I've avoided giving any types of grades. The only thing I put into my grade book is a binary grade. You've either done it and turned it in, or you haven't. The quality of that work is not judged via a grade. It's judged via feedback. So getting all that feedback is a really intensive and labor-intensive deal. So one of the things that students have had to do is they have had to learn how to really dig into the standards, understand the standards, and then offer feedback to their peers about their own work. Because when I have students, evaluating other students, or I should say assessing, they're not grading, they're assessing each other and looking closely at the standards and how their peers' work measures up to or exceeds that standard or is still developing towards that standard, then that's really going to help me help all my students because I can get more work done that way. And I trust my students. If I'm teaching them how to assess each other, then I'm really teaching them how to understand what quality work looks like. So there's a whole lot in my own history as a teacher that's really coming together here with gradelessness. It goes all the way back for me to the work of William Glasser, the quality school teacher, and his work in terms of assessment versus evaluation in both of those books and what really matters in the classroom. And then, as I said, Drive by Dan Pink, as well as his work in A Whole New Mind, both awesome books, links down below. I think every teacher should read those books. And then moving forward with encountering a number of teachers through Medium, the blogging platform, as well as I said, teachers grading teachers. So what I have linked to below are the forms that I'm using. It's coming towards the end of the marking period, and my students are going to be conducting conferences. They're either going to be doing live conferences with me, or they're going to videotape a conference for me, or they're going to maybe do a podcast of a conference, or they're just going to write a letter to me in which they support a grade that they believe they have achieved in class. So the first thing they get is a descriptive grading criteria, and that's below. And that says, in order to argue for or to claim that you have earned an A, a B, or a C, these are the things that you must meet. So they provide the evidence, all the feedback forms, all the work that they've done. They're going to use those to support their claim that they have earned those grades. And they also have to use the language of the standards. There are focus standards and learning targets. Links to those are below as well for 9th and 10th grade. All of this helps them to speak the language of really understanding what their work is and how their work is helping them grow as learners. I'm learning as well, so this first round of conferences is going to be huge for me, and we'll see where that takes us. And I will get back to you more on this process and Gradelessness, but there are links all over the internet for this, and there are certainly teachers who have been involved in it for far longer than I have, and my hat is off to them. This is a huge shift for me in terms of how I see learning, not necessarily in terms of how I see it. I've seen it this way for a very long time, but in terms of really walking the talk, I think this is a huge shift for me. So if you're interested in the work that my students are doing and how they're going about grading and assessing themselves, I shouldn't say grading, they are assessing themselves, they're looking at their growth across time and using feedback models to suggest whether or not they have grown. All those links are below, and please, leave comments. I'd be glad to get back to you and point you in the right direction.